Hello, and welcome back to the AL Central Rundown. I'm Eric, and with me today is.
I'm Sam.
I'm Lee. And I'm Lee.
I was saying,
That'll
you're
do.
used to being the second. Yeah, take that.
Yeah, all right.
How's it
I
feel to
know
be on
where
the.
my place is, I guess.
Well, right now, the bottom screen, so how does it feel?
Yeah.
Not that that ever matters for those who are actually watching this. It's just whoever logs on first, so that's why I'm typically in the top right corner. Also, I have the ability to do whatever I want, so I can move people wherever I please. It's the weirdest, the smallest amount of power that has ever gone to someone's head, but I'll take it. Yes, I did steal that line from The Office. Anyway, I'm trying to procrastinate talking about baseball because it has been an absolute nightmare for Minnesota. But they did win 10-1, 10 nothing today, or at least I think they're still playing. It's been pretty good for, well, no one. But the Tigers are still leading the division. Let's just go over the standings and how the teams are going. And then
Well,
Sam and
you
I can.
scored 10 runs today, so you're good for like the week, right? That's going to hold you over.
I mean, if statistically, yeah, that's probably they will probably score 14 runs, the total of this week. So yeah, 10 of them in one game. That's fantastic. That's great. 30, 10 hours of glee. All right, standings. No effing change for the Tigers. Uh, Up 9 games against the Guardians, who are the only other team that has a winning record because the Twins have been atrocious. We'll go into their pitching in just a second, but it has not been pretty baseball at all. The Royals, kind of the well, still not pretty baseball.
But it's not
Slight,
ugly. It's just they're not scoring runs, so it's
well, the
boring
Twins
to
No,
and the
me.
it's ugly, Lee.
It's ugly? Okay, I'll
the
take your
Twins
word
and the
for it.
Royals have like the opposite problem, the offense, but we'll talk about that in a second. And then the White Sox are just, being the White Sox. Yeah. Runs. Again, the Tigers are the only team with above a league average offense. They have scored 402 runs. League average team is 339. The Twins are right around there. Then Cleveland, Chicago, and then the very, very poor hitting team, the Kansas City Royals. Team ERA. Hey, remember when the Twins were like second in the division to pitching? Well, it's still KC, but the Twins are now last in the division. Talk about that in a second. The Tigers, Guardians are all above league average, and then you have the White Sox and the lowly Minnesota Twins because they have completely imploded on the pitching side. I don't want to talk about the Twins yet. So Lee, you had a 5-5 last 10.
Yeah.
That's the best in the division right now.
Yeah, we've kind of been doing that for like a month now, just playing 500, which is fine. Like if we continue at this pace for the end of the season, we'll finish with 91 wins. I think yeah, 20 games over 500 if you continue playing 500. Yeah, I mean that's pretty good. It's kind of what you want to see. I'd like to get maybe a little more than that considering how we started, but I mean, if you look, I was talking with my dad, and like in 1984, that's basically what they did. They started off 35-5, played 500 the rest of the way, and just coasted into the playoffs. So as long as we're leading the division, and we'd like to get that bye in the playoffs, but we're playing fine baseball right now. It's not the best. It's not horrible. People are a little tiny bit overreacting, but it,
No.
yeah,
Sports fans?
I know
Never
you'd
heard of
never
a thing.
expect that. Yeah, we lost the series to the Rays, but the Rays are red hot right now. Also, we had this fun thing where the team arrived at Tampa at like 4 in the morning, played a night game, and then played a noon game the day after. And it's like 100 degrees and humid as hell. So, I'm just gonna blame that for losing. Also, I mean, the Rays are a good team right now. They're playing very
Yeah.
good. So it's not like the worst. It's not great. But it's not the worst. We beat the series off the A's, which is very nice. I got to go to the game where we lost 3-0 instead of one of the games where we won by like 7 or 8 runs. So
Yeah, that's pretty. Why is
yeah,
it always that way?
yeah, right. It's you always go to the one where you lose. Like last year, I went to a game against Cleveland, and we lost that game. and then we won the other 3 games in that series. Like, you got to be kidding
Or
me.
just the jinx. Sam, when you went to opening day, did the Royals win?
No.
No. Okay. Do you want to know the last game I went to? Last Twins game? It was 2 years ago. No, it was last year, I believe. Do you remember when Rocco Baldelli got ejected at Yankee Stadium because the umpire told the Yankee pitcher to wash his hands and he didn't, and he was still allowed to pitch? I believe it was
No.
Domingo Herman. Yeah, so I went to that game. Herman was like obviously great, assuming it was him. I might be thinking of another player. Maybe it was Severino. I don't know. They look very similar. But yeah, so whoever the Yankee that was pitching that day, the umpire did the sticky check and then said, I don't think this is illegal, but like maybe go wash your hands before you come out and pitch next inning. And he did the check before the inning, the next time the Yankee came out, and he said, well, you didn't wash your hands, but I guess I'll continue to let you pitch. And Rocco like came out like, well, what is this bull crap? Like, why is he not ejected immediately? Because he was also like basically pitching a no-hitter. Yeah, it was weird. So I was at that game. Fun.
That's fun.
Yeah, well, and also the Twins are just also terrible against the Yankees to begin with, and especially in Yankee Stadium. So,
Yeah.
oh, let's talk about the other team very briefly. Dan is gonna try to jump on today. He is switching jobs, and he's in the middle of his notice. So, I think he's doing a little bit of. He's trying to leave amicably from his previous employer. So. He's going to try to get on, but we don't know. But the Royals, the game results, I'm taking this right from the team page on Baseball Reference. I thought it was really kind of cool just to kind of show. They've been 5-5 the last couple of games. The green bars, if you care, it's just that was the margin of victory for those games, and then the red bar, the margin of victory loss. If you remember a couple weeks ago, or I guess it's probably 2 months ago now, the Guardians had a couple really brutal back-to-back games. Those are there. So not all bars are represented equally, but they've been fine. If Dan comes on, we'll talk about their news in a second. But we can talk about the news. Lee or Sam, who wants to bite that bullet first?
I'll go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, yes, you go ahead. Have
I'll
you
go
both
ahead.
waited to see if the other would go, and then at the same time?
Yeah. I'll go ahead. Yeah, it's not been great for the Royals these past couple weeks.
Oh, ouch! That hurts a little bit.
This
Looking at
game result hurts my soul because like
that's rough.
it's a
really
lot of red, but it's a lot of like it's not even like a lot of blowout reds. It's like it's like they're losing like a couple 1-2 run games. It looks like to me.
Mm-hmm.
I like the
Yeah.
stretch where you lose 2 in a row, then win by 1, and then you lose 2, and then you win by 1, and then you lose, and then you win by 1. That's
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I would encourage our listeners of this podcast to go back about a month into our library and listen to the content we made where we sat here and said, oh, gee, are we going to get 3 AL Central teams in the playoffs again? Whoopity-doo. Wouldn't that be something?
Why are we all Southern now?
you gotta do your most exaggerated Minnesota accent for the Midwest.
Yeah, no, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. And, obviously you go through bad stretches in any season, but man, I'll talk about a couple numbers here. The Royals have lost 10 consecutive games at home.
Ouch.
5 of those 10 have been shutouts.
Ooh,
Um,
man.
They just got swept at home in a 3-game series against the Rays. 1 run in those 3 games.
One
Uh,
run. Oh my god.
and 1 run in the last 30 innings for the Royals.
Wow.
And what makes it even worse is the Royals last week had a 4-game winning streak, which got them back to 500. And they swept the Rangers in Arlington. They won a game in San Diego, and then they lost on Saturday. Lost on Sunday, which I'm going to argue is probably the worst loss of the season by the Royals, in which Seth Lugo gave up a hit to the first batter he faced and gave up a hit to the last batter he faced. And that was in maybe, I think it was like the 7th inning with 1 out that he came out of the game. And then the Royals bullpen proceeded to immediately lose the game. And it wasn't a situation where, you know, oh, well, we'll bounce back from that, because no, you then immediately go and lose 3 in a row to the Rays. So you win 4 in a row, and that's great, and then you proceed to lose 5 in a row, and now we have a 3-game series this weekend against the Dodgers. So
Ouch.
unless the sports gods are just going to get real, real fucky here, um, I think it might be time to raise the white flag on this season. I mean, we've got a month until the trade deadline, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a move within the next week or two by the Royals, because, like, granted, I don't think this is a bad team. I think there are some really good pieces in place. I just think um, there are a lot of 4A players who are on the team, and I think that's maybe you can get away with that for a season, like they did last year. But I think this year has been particularly unkind to the sort of, I don't want to call it money ball, but the sort of, let's be scrappy and get by on, maybe some lesser players, and we'll get to the playoffs that way. I don't think that's gonna do it. So
I
good run. I'm not gonna say that this season is a complete failure if they don't make the playoffs. But if this trend continues and they end up losing 90 games this year, then this season's a failure. So that's
For
that's where I'm at right now.
for what it's worth, I think of the 3 teams that's like in the middle, we'll call it. You got Tigers at the top, White Sox at the bottom. If we're gonna call those 3, because they're kind of all the same place, I think the Royals are the closest to being able to make a surge, because they have one half of the game, right? They have all the pitching. They just have 0 hitting. It's like right. It's a little easier to add a couple batters rather than you have to get. Do we go after a pitcher or do we go for a position player? I think if that logic follows, my logic is making sense. I think the Royals are
No.
closer because you have half of it done. It's got to get the other half.
I think that's completely fair. And like the Guardians have made that's been their recipe for the last decade or so. It's been all pitching and then try to scrap together as many hitters as you can. The Royals offense, I'm going to pull up a screen here from Baseball Reference here. This offense is incredibly bad. Like their last 7, they have an OPS plus of 60. They have a 586 OPS. In their last 14 games, they have a 587 OPS. In their last 30 or 28 days, it's 670. That OPS plus is 85.
Ooh, okay, yeah. I mean, I get it.
You can
It's
argue that there is some bad luck because their BABIP is below 300, but 264, 191. That's incredibly bad luck. Nobody is that bad on a team level. But it doesn't look like they're walking that much. They have essentially no power. A 333 slug in their last 14. Like, they have not cracked a 400 slugging percentage in the last 365 days. If you look at their platoon splits, they're not good against righties or lefties. Their OPS plus against righties is 87 and against lefties is 81. The only offensive category in their splits that they are an above average team, above average hitter, is right-handers versus right-handed pitching. And it's 103.
Yeah, that's really, really bad.
That's no hope offense.
Yeah.
And I don't.
I would refer you to my earlier comments about raising the white flag, Eric.
Sorry. I don't mean to like be. If that came off as mean, I'm sorry.
I'll tell you what, and this is something that I think we can talk about these stats all day long, and that's fine. But one stat that was not on that graphic was hitting with runners in scoring position.
Right.
And last year, the Royals were one of the best teams at doing that. I don't know what the number was off the top of my head, but I believe they were top 5 in hitting with runners in scoring position. This year, they're bottom 5. So, right. I mean, that's about it.
Right. And I think that can track, because the reason, runners in scoring position is a good in-season stat, but it's not predictive. Just because they've been good with runners in scoring position doesn't mean they will continue to be. So, it's fine. You still have to give them credit for what they've done, but you can't count on that luck continuing or discontinuing the rest of the season. Overall, the offense will be what it's going to be, regardless of runners are on base or not. Mm-hmm. But Lee, they do have excellent pitching. But when you have no offense, we'll talk about the Twins here in a second, and the Twins have absolutely flipped their good pitching into horrendous in June. I mean, if 2 or 3 guys either start slipping or Bubic is now just an excellent pitcher and not an overworldly pitcher, they're in trouble.
No, that's fair. I guess I didn't realize just how awful it's been.
And I don't think, the Royals have never been a team in my life who are, just mashing the ball, number 1 in runs, number 1 in home runs.
Right.
That's never been the team that the Royals are. But I think that, look, I'm not going to do my whole thing that I've been doing this year about certain Royals players, but there's some guys on the team who are, I'll give you an example. John Rave came up this year, who's, I don't know, been fine, I guess. He's a rookie. He's a 27-year-old rookie. Yeah. He's never been in MLB before. Is that the type of guy that you plug into a playoff team and say, okay, well, here we go, John, let's do it? It's no, of course it isn't, because there's a reason why he's a 27-year-old rookie. And some of these guys who, again, I'm sure are fine players, are not the type of players that you're going to have on your team when you're trying to make playoffs.
Right.
And granted, this is the situation that they're in, and we'll see what the rest of the season looks like. But I don't think they're in a position. We'll see how the next month goes. Right. I don't think they're going to be in a position to buy at the trade deadline. I don't think they're going to be in a position where they can say, "Oh, well, we just need one more bat," and we're it's much bigger than that. And I think we're going to see maybe not a complete, dismantling of the team, but I definitely think Seth Lugo's going to be gone at the trade deadline. I don't think there's any question about that. This is the last year of his deal. You're never he's going to get, a big contract in the off season. He's going to decline his player option. So I think it's a situation where I think the rest of the season is going to be about next year.
Right. And that's fair. And
But
I can believe that this is a retool versus rebuild.
mhm.
Because, like, I do
Because
think
you don't want to tear it down, because you don't want to give away all that pitching, because
Mhm.
you want to hold on to that. Like, use some of it for like trade stock in order to get batters or something. But that's the kind of pitching you want to build around if you have
Yeah.
team control and stuff. I don't know what the deals are for all of your guys though.
Yeah,
So
and it's a situation where, like, yeah, last year you make the playoffs. This year, okay, we'll run it back. It's pretty much the same team or a very similar team.
Yeah.
And okay, well, that didn't work. Time to shake some things up.
So
So
I am curious, how many hitters away consistently, like, and I'm not even talking like all-star level hitters. How many dead average hitters are they away from being a decent offense?
I would say they need a guy in left field, a guy in right field, and someone who's a better DH than Freddie Fermin.
Okay. Which
So
is very attainable. Corners and DH is attainable during the trade deadline. So if they do go on a run, they could buy. They have Caglione up, Pasquantino, Bobby Witt is obviously, carrying the team. So would you say those three spots?
I would say if Jack Caglione can, emerge as really, if he can go on a hot streak and he can start putting things together,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any problem why he can't be in right field. You get someone better, like again, Nick Lofton and John Ray are not horrible players, but they're not going to do it for you. I would say they probably need someone in left field, and they need someone who they can plug into that DH spot. So I would say that would be if the Royals go on a run and Caglione is consistently getting hits, then sure, be aggressive at the trade deadline. But anything short of that, let's
Right.
call it quits and let's look ahead to 2026.
Do you see any reason they would what's the downside of keeping Caglione up? Unless he's like atrociously bad. Is there any downside to it? Who else is going to play there?
Service time.
Right, but they're going to, I mean, service time is good. They're going to have him for 7 years anyway. 6 years
Yeah,
after the season anyway. And
yeah.
how old is he going to be? He is how old?
He's
he
like
was just
22
drafted, so
He's
he's
22. So
yeah.
yeah.
you have him until he's 29.
Uh, um, I would say yeah. The only downside is service time, keeping him up. But if we're not going to make a push to the playoffs this season, there's no reason to send him back down. He proved that he can hit at AAA.
Right.
So what would you? Yeah, but I would say disappointment.
Yeah.
But I hope they can right the ship and at least be respectable
Yeah.
by the end of the season. If this ends up being a small step back, I won't be too upset. But if this ends up being, a complete falling down the stairs, then I'll be pretty upset. But
Yeah.
Do you have like a set win number you have to get to in order for it to not be a fall down the stairs, or is it more kind of like what you see on the field? You
I
think?
mean, at the end of the day, ultimately, I'd like to see them be 500. But if they're, I would say if they lose 90 games, that would be a complete, just abject failure.
So you'd be fine with like a 75 win season.
If that ends up being what it is, then I would not call it.
Bad but respectable.
Yeah, disappointing, but
Yeah.
it is what
You
it
can
is.
work with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like they proved they were, well, they didn't really prove it because they didn't actually sign anyone, but they're trying to spend money. They have Renfro coming. As Renfro, he's off the books after this year, right?
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah. So I mean, they'll have some money to spend. It sounds like they wanted
Mhm.
to sign Santander, and he just didn't want to go there. So
Yeah,
he's gonna
there was
want someone
stuff
who
like
knows.
that, but it was an awkward off season for the Royals.
Lee, can I jump ahead of you and talk
Yeah.
Twins
Go
because
ahead.
they're very similar, but in a kind of a weird way. So I don't have the baseball reference spot that I showed for the Royals, but I do have some numbers. I just wanted to show their very hard to look at game results. This just kind of shows how streaky of a team they are. The first third of the season, they were pretty bad. The middle third of this season, they were pretty good. And now we're back to, oh my God, they're terrible again. I don't know what this team is. They essentially lost Pablo Lopez. And everyone decided that they didn't want to keep pitching anymore. Because the pitching has been about as bad as I think I have ever seen a team pitch. Let me just 100. So this is June. This is 174 innings. Their ERA is 7.09. They have given up 282 base runners in those 174 innings. It would be more, but they've also given up 27 home runs, and home runs do not have base runners. They have a negative 41 run differential since the start of June. I'll bring this graphic up again. Every game, the Twins are going to lose by like the third inning because the starting pitcher has already given up 5 runs. They're not even competitive games. And there's nothing. They made a couple games out of a few, but it's like I think against the Brewers they were swept. They went down 8-2 and they came back, and I think the final score was 9-8. They ended up losing and they had a couple chances to win it, but there's nothing a team can do when your team ERA for a month is 7.09. They're 5-15 in June. And what makes it like sting just a little bit more is that the offense is actually showing some life. Carlos Correa has, I mean, he hasn't been like what he had, but he has a 113 OPS plus in his last 30 games. That's great. Like, you can't have your highest paid player who's now WAR is at exactly 0. He had a good game today, but he's been pretty good the last like I said for June. If he's not going to play well, this team doesn't have that much upside. Royce Lewis is still on the IL, and when he was on, you can't really count on that. But the rest of the offense is picking things up. They have a 109 OPS plus in June. So what is this team? The hell if I know. Like, can anyone predict what they're going to do? If the offense is going to show life and if the pitching can just go back to just normal, they would probably have a winning record in June if the pitching had just been normal bad and not just atrociously bad.
How are you enjoying the Joey Wentz experience?
He's been fine. I don't know. Like,
He's been so.
he hasn't been the worst pitcher on the team.
I just see his stats get pulled up a lot because he was on the Tigers for a year and a half. He got DFA'd last year. He was bad. He gave up a lot of home runs all the time. But I've just been seeing a lot of his stats on my feed just because Tigers fans were like, "Look, he's doing so bad on the Twins."
Yeah, I think if you would actually like line up his stats, the time he's been with, he was a trade from I forget where, but it was like one of those, basically a waiver claim trade. Got him for peanuts, much like the Cody Clemens, the Jonah Brides, all of those acquisitions they made this year because they, for some reason, refused to play anyone on their AAA roster. And Mickey Gasper, I know he had a terrible first month in the league. He's a 28, 29-year-old rookie. He's leading AAA in OPS. McCusker is still doing really well in AAA. Like, yes, these are not great players, but the first, I don't know, couple months of the season at least, I mean, who else are you playing? Jonah Bride is not cutting it. Coney Clemens has done, he was great for those 3 weeks, but who are we kidding? Cody Clemens was never going to be anything more than a quad A player.
Yeah, just see how long it lasted. That's a
Yeah.
question.
And like he's had a home run 2 of his last 3 games, and like he'll be streaky. The power is there. It's just he should be the 13th guy on the bench. Well, Jonah Bride should also be the 13th guy on the bench. Joey Wentz should be the 13th pitcher in the bullpen, but they have like 3 of those guys. Deshaun Kersey should be the 13th guy on the roster. Like Christian Vasquez should be the 13th position player on the roster. What do you do with your bench? You don't play anyone. And it overshadows that Byron Buxton has been fucking phenomenal. And the offense is heating up, and they have no bench. So who's to say it's going to keep up? But if the pitching staff just is normal bad, they might actually climb above 500. Will they go on a 14-game winning streak again? Probably not. But if they do, I'll actually be a little upset about it because then they'll be like, they can't keep doing this to me.
They're either an 800 winning team or a 200 winning team. There's no in between.
That's what will happen at the end of this year. Instead of going on a horrendous losing streak, they'll go on an amazing winning streak.
Well, and can anyone name, like, I think this is probably going to end up being a 500 team, but like the ride is going to be freaking weird. How many good teams have 2 atrocious, like 13 and 15 to start a season, and they are 5 and 15 in June? How many good teams have 2 separate stretches that bad? None.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean,
So
are the Braves a good team? They've been really weird.
Probably, but they also have a higher payroll too, so they should be a little bit better.
The Mets have had one really bad losing streak
Right.
or stretch,
so then the only thing you can really think of is the outlier is the winning streak. Like who knows? I don't know. Like,
every year they do that. They win like 12, 13, 14 in a row.
That's 2 years, yeah. Yeah, and even today, they're now going to split a 4-game series against Seattle. Seattle's a good team. I gotta remember we're gonna go over their schedule pretty soon. They play the Tigers next week. Who's to say the Twins don't catch fire and sweep the Tigers? Because that's just how this team is. Like, I don't know, but I don't. That's all I had for the Twins. Rant over. I'm gonna mix another drink. Lee, talk about a mediocre Tigers team for the last month, but still dominating the division.
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about pitching because that is where the problem is right now. We've had at least one injured pitcher for 2 months. For the past month, we've been basically going on a 3-man rotation. So it's a little bit rough there, but we should be getting Reese Olson back next week because he made a start with the Mud Hens a couple days ago, and Hinch said that's probably going to be his last rehab assignment. But he should be back, and then we'll have 4 starting pitchers. Yay! So if you look at the win losses for the past month, right, it's a bit weird. We keep losing by a lot and winning by a lot, but also losing by a lot. So it's been interesting to say the least. This past weekend we played the Rays. The first 2 games were not good. For the record, okay, I work nights, right? So I will sleep in until like 1, 2 in the afternoon. For some reason in Tampa, we played this game starting at noon. I woke up on Saturday, I think it was. I forget the second game. And the first thing I see on my phone when I check it is my dad said, "Hey, if you're just waking up, don't turn the game on," because we had 4 unearned runs given up in the first inning. That's kind of a summary of that. I'm going to just show my screen here to look at Baseball Reference.
Yep.
If I can get, I just want to get just the window. There we go. All right. So this is the Tigers pitching per month, right? April, March, 301 ERA, 1.16 WHIP. That's pretty good. May got better, a little bit lower ERA, but we got more strikeouts. And then you look at June with a 4.38 ERA in the month of June. Yeah, it's not that's not horrible.
No.
That's not great. That's not what you want to see.
No,
I mean,
it's
we're still
not.
winning. We're basically 200, a little over 500 in the month of June. But yeah, the strikeouts have gone down. ERA is giving up a lot more runs because we have to use our bullpen a lot more. And Flaherty has been really weird lately because he's been up and down and up and down and giving up 4 home runs. And then, yeah, it's been, Scooble's been really good. Mize has been good. Flaherty's been weird. And then it's bullpen. And our bullpen is overworked.
Yeah.
So that's the bad stuff.
And I want, because I was randomly thinking about this the other day, because I was trying to think, like, how did the Tigers not win this division? And it would be incredibly hard for them to not win this division at this point. But the only thing I could come up with is after Scooble. So if Scooble, like, has, like, a 3-month injury, they've already missed, what, Job, and who else is injured for them on the IL?
Right now, Olsen's coming back.
Yeah.
We got Cobb still molding in Double A.
Skip that name. That's irrelevant until he does anything.
We got Alex Lang rehabbing in Triple A. He could be back soon. That would be nice.
But like, if Scooble's out,
it'll be Mize, Olsen, and Flaherty.
And Mize is that. I did forget about Mize, but Flaherty would probably be the default number 1.
But his ERA is like 4.5 this year.
Well, that's what I'm saying is Mize and Flaherty, however you want to rate, and then 3 question marks, and Flaherty I think is turning into a question mark.
Well, Olsen will be back, so we'll have him, and then. But yeah, I mean, you're right. We've got guys that could be starting pitchers. Like Montero he's been pretty good for us. Like Alex Lang could be coming back. Sawyer Gibson-Long could be a starter, but he hasn't been going more than like 4 or 5 innings because he's coming back from TJ and hip surgery.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we got a couple other guys who could pull up, maybe. But, I mean, yeah, it's just we've had a lot of starting pitching injury. We've had a lot of pitching injuries to go with it.
And not for nothing, like they're going to trade for a starting pitcher at the deadline. Right?
Yeah, I would be very surprised. Personally, I think I'd put like bullpen help over starting pitching. But like I said, starting pitching should be first. Because we do need bullpen help. Like we should do starting pitching, relief pitching, a bat.
I was about to say, priority. Because you should. I mean, after it hits August, and if they're still up, 8-9 games in the division, they need to just strictly start thinking of the playoff roster. And if you have the best pitcher in the league, that's great, but that's only 1 game.
Yeah. We learned last year you cannot go deep in a playoff run with a bullpen and Scooble. Like, you need more. Because that's why we lost the playoffs. At the end of the day, we didn't have offense. But also because our bullpen had been going at 110% for 2 months straight.
Yeah.
You need a guy to go 6 innings.
Yep. And, like, they did sign Flaherty. And Flaherty is Flaherty can always bounce back. He's getting paid, what, $15-20 million this year?
Let me pull up his, because his is so weird. If you look at his last 5 starts, right? Yesterday at the game I went to, it was fine. He gave up a 3-run homer, but it was after 2 walks and a questionable called safe tag. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go into that. But the 2 games, these are objectively bad. But the game against the Cubs was great. He was great against Chicago. He had a really good start against
Can you go
Padres a
into
few
the
weeks
splits
ago.
actually? Yeah, go into the splits in 2025. I just want to see what he's been doing per month.
It's been so up and down. It's really weird. Like, look at this. This is let me look at. It's the third time through the
By
rotation.
months.
Like it's by a month. He's
Yeah.
gotten bad. I mean, he had a stretch where he was doing good, and then he got bad, and then he was doing good again, but we lost on his starts anyway. And then he's
Well, June is OPS against it. OPS plus against is 121.
because he
That's
does this thing where he'll give up like a walk or two in an inning, and then get frustrated, and then give up a home run.
he implodes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then be fine the rest of the game, but it's like that one inning that'll just like screw with him. So, oh yeah, you can see the run support that he's gotten. It's been,
Oh. Yeah. Well, that's another. It's great as in the moment, but you can't. That's not predictive, you know.
Yeah. I'm trying to find if I just want to look at like all of his game logs. Here we go, 2025, because you can kind of see just how if I sort them by, let's sort them by runs given up. Right? It's 8, 7, 5, 5, but you got a lot of 0, 0, 1, 1. So it's very top heavy and bottom heavy. There's not a lot of. He doesn't have average starts. He either has good starts or terrible starts.
Yeah. How old is he?
He is 29. Yeah, 29.
That'll be fine. How many years did he get through? 1 sec. Free agency 22. So he has next year too.
Yeah, so it's a player option for next year because it was basically a 1-year deal, and he still gets paid next year if he got hypothetically injured.
He'll opt out then.
Yeah, because it's for 25 this year and then 10 next year.
Yeah, he's opting out 100% then. Okay, so maybe you can't count on that, but either way. But they can also resign or extend him too. I see no reason they signed him, traded him away, and signed him again. Why he wouldn't? He clearly likes Detroit.
Yeah.
Unless
Sorry, go ahead.
Unless he just implodes the rest of the way.
Yeah, like
even if he does, he's going to get more than $10 million on the free agent market.
Probably. I'm not like worried about him long term. It's just like I don't think this is his standard, right? I don't think he's a 4.5 pitcher. I think he is like a 2.4, 2.7 guy. It's been a roller coaster.
What's his FIP?
Let's see.
Yeah, this is his main page.
Yeah, 4.52.
Yeah, that's not great. It's not atrocious by any means, but he's pitching to his ERA, it looks like.
It's home runs. He's given up so many home runs. Because he's been walking a lot of guys. Because look at how many he got 35 walks, and last year he had 19 with us. In more innings, but yeah, his control is all over the place.
Yeah.
I think he will figure it out. It's just a little rough. So yeah, pitching for us has been rough. Offense has been really a little on and off, but our offense is still good, which is like surprising. So we'll get shut out, but then we'll go and score 8, 9, 10 runs. And on the offensive side, I want to talk about two guys briefly. Sorry if I'm going too long.
Nope.
Riley Green in the month of June has been fantastic. I had this up. Where? God damn it. I had it, and then I can't find it again. Splits. Months. Here we go. June. He's batting 386, 639 slug, and a 1073 OPS in the month of June. So he
hasn't had a bad month. This year.
He has not.
He had a bad start, didn't he? Like his first 15 games were pretty bad.
Well, he had a average first couple of weeks, and then he slumped pretty hard, and then he came back. Yeah, so he has been fantastic. I mean, the BABIP in the month of June is crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's still. I mean, his BABIP all season has been really high, but he's probably just knocking the crap out of the ball. But it'll come down a little bit.
His swing is the most like upward trajectory swing in all of baseball. It's at like a 92 degree angle or whatever. So I think that's probably contributing to it. He has a lot of home runs that I always think are fly balls because it's such a high launch angle, but he just muscles them out. So he has been so good for us in June. And then I want to talk about Wenzel Perez for a little bit. I'm going to come for. So as I said before, he is a split. He's a switch hitter, last year he was way better as a left-handed batter than a right-handed. Not to the point of why are you batting and right-handed, but it was like because he was a 24-year-old rookie. It's like, let's see how this works out. But it was like maybe we want to just focus on the left-hand side. Right. So if you look at last year, he was batting 209 with a 594 OPS from the right hand, and then the left-handed batter he was 251 with a 709 OPS. This year, he has been as a right-handed batter hitting 381 with a 1.4 OPS. Small sample size because it's only 22 plate appearances, but that is just, if that stays remotely high, it will be very awesome. And I want to show his Baseball Savant page. Is 2024, just look at a spray chart, and then 2025, how it's been. He's getting a lot more power towards this side of the field. So that's pretty awesome.
Can you scroll down on this page? I want to see, are they pitching more changeups to him? What is he?
It's kind of a smaller sample size.
Yeah, still, they haven't changed anything though. That's interesting. Do you know if his home runs have been coming off speed then?
I'd have to really dig into it. I don't know where to get that on here.
Is that how it normally works? If you hit if you're behind and you're thinking fast, like, I feel like more off-speed pitches get hit to opposite power. Maybe not. Am I making that up?
I mean, that one's I don't know. I don't know where to get that on here.
I don't know if there's any way to track that metric. There probably is, but
you can look at pitch type and see what they've done. But I don't know how to do it as a right-handed batter or as the left-handed batter or anything like that.
It's interesting how they don't show how many home runs you've hit on each pitch in that. In this
right, you think you'd want to see that.
And I'm sure there is. I haven't searched.
I'm sure that exists, but
pulling it up quickly when you're on the spot is always kind of the worst. So
it's always funny to see his expected home runs by park because Yankee Stadium last year. He should have had 16 in Yankee Stadium, but he only had 9 on the year.
I hate Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, because he was hit so much better as a lefty than a righty. But this year he's already had like 3 home runs as a righty. It's 3 home runs as a lefty, 3 as a righty, and he only came back a month ago. So 6 home runs in a month. It's pretty awesome. I'm excited for him, and his defenses look better too. So this is the guy that was kind of not really well known in the Tigers organization, but came up last year and is looking like he could be a really good player for us. So that's exciting. Just wanted to share those 2 facts.
Yeah.
There. Has there ever been another Wenzel in MLB history?
No.
Okay.
He is the
only.
Good to know.
Yeah, last year it took the broadcast team and announcers like a month to decide how they wanted to pronounce his name. Because is it Wenzel Perez, Wenzel Perez, Wenzel? It was they kept like bouncing between pronunciations.
You know what? I'm assuming because they have the tilde over the E. Like, I would still say Perez, but
it's Perez.
Yeah, I was about to say, and it's Perez. I would scale because the Wenzel makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's Wenzel Perez.
Wenzel, sorry. I feel like I would get that, but I would always mix up on the Perez or the Perez. But what do I know? I'm just a stupid white guy who shouldn't even try to speak Spanish.
That's the official pronunciation. That's what they've been doing on the broadcast. That's what Baseball Reference says. I don't know, maybe unless he's like said something different that I'm unaware of. But yeah, I'm assuming that's what he's told people. I don't know. Yeah, he is the only Wenzel to play in the major leagues.
That'd be surreal. What still blows my mind that there's only been 2 Codys that start with a K in baseball. They both play for the Twins this year. That's going to be like my bar trivia thing for until the next Cody with a K comes up. In which case, you can't have those Codys on the Twins at the same time, or else that's going to be a real bad headline.
Yeah.
Gonna wait a couple seconds for that joke to land, and
I'm imagining you, Eric, at the bar, like 4 beers deep, being like, "Did you know? Two Cody's."
And I tell you, they will be riveted by
Yeah,
those
and
stories.
the person that you tell that fun fact to just goes, "Oh, oh, wow, cool."
Let's be honest, the only person who's going to sit next to me hearing those stories will already be passed out at the bar. So, for notes, I think Dan just sent something in the Discord. He might be on in a bit, so we're gonna talk about the. We're gearing up for the draft. We're gearing up for the trade deadline. So this is probably a good time to talk about the farm systems. We're originally going to talk about Cleveland's first, but they just because they were ranked as the best farm system in the Central. But if Dan has a chance, we're probably going to push them to the bottom. We only have a couple of notes for the Guardians that Dan said we should probably touch on. I'll touch on those quickly just because he might be able to talk about them in person, and will certainly know about the Guardians more than I would. But what he wanted to talk about is Ramirez did leave the game today. He was hit by a pitch. He got a bruised forearm. Results are negative. I feel like he's been hit by a lot of pitches this year, or at least pitches that take
This one
him
was
out of
on
the game.
purpose. This one was on purpose.
Oh,
It was
was it?
Yeah, so Vladdy, this is the series against the Blue Jays. Vladdy was hit by a pitch twice. I think in 2 different games, if I remember correctly. But they were like both unintentional. It's just like you're pitching inside or whatever. And so Blue Jays retaliated by throwing out Jose Ramirez because, of course.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was a whole thing.
Well, that's crap.
Yeah.
I feel like Ramirez has had not just hit by pitches, but he's had so many like little injuries this year that have caused him to come out of the game.
Yeah,
And
didn't
then
he
it's
have
like,
that wrist thing like a couple
yeah,
months ago,
yeah,
or the beginning of the
he
season?
did.
And
it's
maybe
like,
we're just thinking
X-rays are negative. He's fine.
And like they're
mean-
probably he's what 32 now, so like he's on the
32.
wrong side of 30. They're going to be careful with him because I'm assuming he is a Cleveland treasure at this point. There's no reason to push it,
Yeah.
especially because he's been phenomenal this entire year.
Those
As
old 32-year-old bones.
Yeah, shut up. Since you're still young, since you're both still younger than him, SOB. I'd barely be walking if I was on a baseball field. I'm barely walking now. Who am I kidding? Yeah, he also wanted to say that Trevor Stephan and Paul Sewald threw a rehab inning in AAA on Tuesday. They're probably a week out unless they have a setback. And then the offense remains anemic, and fans and media are rumbling about minor leaguers to get promoted, which I think is probably as good of a segue we're going to talk, because I wanted to talk about the farm system, because like I said before, we have a month before, like, 5 weeks before the trade deadline, and the draft is a couple of weeks away.
Isn't it during the All-Star break? Or did they
Yes, I think
change
it's
it?
the first thing of that weekend.
Okay, because I knew they changed it to the All-Star break a few years ago, but I couldn't remember if they changed it again.
Yep. Which I like. I like that a lot, actually. I do
Yeah,
kind of.
because I'm paying attention to baseball during the season, not necessarily in like January or whatever.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, what excellent timing. Kind of. He missed the news by about a minute, but Dan's here, everyone. Welcome, Dan.
Hey everybody, how you guys doing?
We talked about how Jose Ramirez was stretchered off of the field and will probably never play again.
Lord
Tragedy.
knows that's not true. Thanks for trying to make me have a heart attack here,
I'm
but no.
speaking it into existence.
I will say just to address that really quickly, that was presumably potentially a retaliation pitch that struck him today.
That's what Lee said.
After Vlad Guerrero was hit earlier in the game, which was entirely not. If anybody was watching Tanner Bybee today, I mean, wild pitch as well. Like that was not intentional. But the Guardians responded by to having their best player potentially hit on purpose by having 2 hits and 4 errors and not scoring. So
really rallied behind him, didn't they?
it's another in kind of another day in the season that makes me go, this isn't the last year's team, is it? More to come.
The Blue Jays Twitter tweeted that the video out of when they scored on the errors with Cleveland is still searching for a QB1.
Oh.
Oh, that's harsh.
Oh.
Like, that is absolutely brutal.
Is it just
Like,
like,
well,
maybe this is just my, because like I feel like the Blue Jays get a lot, like them and like the Padres get into a lot of these type of controversies, like retaliation pitches or chippy play, or
I
maybe
never
I'm just,
heard that for Toronto. Like, Padres definitely, but like Toronto, I don't think I've ever.
I think it's like maybe because their manager is very like that. Was it Schneider? He's, well, one, he just looks like an a-hole. If you just see a picture of him, he looks like, and maybe that's what I'm judging it off of. But I feel like he's had a lot of like either yelling at the umpire from the dugout, and like he gets into skirmishes. I think he had a run it, not a run in with a player, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just making that up.
I think
Could be, could
maybe
not
you're
be.
thinking of Tampa. Because
Those
Tampa's had a
Canadians
few
have to get
things.
their anger out somehow.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, that was where I was headed. Is I'm not going to take football advice from a country that, for some reason, has 3 downs and an end zone that's like a mile wide. I just they can make all the jokes they want with all that silly Canadian football they play.
See, Guardians Twitter could have retaliated with something about the Maple Leafs, but they retaliated by going and scoring 0 runs.
Yeah,
Game, so.
not great, not ideal, not the way that I wanted to join the podcast, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm here anyway.
So we've had a lot of depressing talk in the 56 minutes we've been.
Lee, you have no right to talk. Get out of here.
We say this.
Has it been a tough week for Detroit at the top of the division?
No.
We went 5-5 again.
That's both curiosity and actually kind of giving you crap at
Our
the same time.
pitching is, we need pitching reinforcements pretty soon. I talked about it for a lot, but in the month of June, we've had an ERA of like 4.3, 4.4.
Mhm.
So, yeah, because we've been going on a 3-man rotation for like a month and a half now. We're going to get Reese Olson back next week, probably. And Jack Flaherty's has been bad the past few weeks. So it's just been
Right on.
messy. We're still winning, though, because we can score more than 4 runs a game. But, like, when you give up 5 runs in the first 3 innings, it's like, oh, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been we've had a lot of blowout losses recently. But we've been winning by a lot, too. So I guess it balances out.
If I want more details, I can listen to the first 50 minutes of the podcast.
Yes.
That's true.
Sorry to repeat myself too much, but wanted to give Dan and Lisa
I do. I'm not. I do think when you were going over like, oh, the pitching is a bit shaky, and I remember like the first couple of weeks when Kenta Maeda was still on the team, and that was like literally the only like bad player on the roster, and like I can't remember who said it, but somebody said, "I wish the worst problem on our team was the mop up. Was the last guy in the bullpen."
Yeah,
I'm
gonna let you guys in on a little secret. So you guys, for a few weeks ago, were talking about like media and fans for the fan bases. Detroit fans have this thing where they cannot be happy unless they're mad about something. Like, oh, Pistons go on a run and make the playoffs. Cade Cunningham isn't throwing enough threes. Lions are 15-2. Well, we didn't score enough, and we only won by 17. Stuff like that. It's annoying.
Joe Mauer doesn't hit enough home runs.
Yeah, it's
Johan Santana gives up too many. Like,
yeah, we always have to find something to be upset about. I think partially because the past 10 years of sports have just been mediocre to bad, but it's also really annoying when we have the best record in baseball. We're leading the division by 9, and everyone's freaking out because we lost 3 in a row. It's like, calm down. The Yankees just lost 7 in a row. The Mets are 1-9 in the past 10. Like, good teams have bad stretches, and we're playing 500. It's not bad. So, anyways.
The Chiefs didn't get the 3-peat.
Yeah. And like it's fine. Like sports in general, especially like the national media wants to be like, they get more clicks, and it's much more trendy to be negative. And baseball is the sport that doesn't trend to hot takes, or it takes it to it the least. So like I don't know. every fan base is like that, and it's probably because
Yeah.
most of baseball fans are also football fans, and football, if you go 0-3, yeah, that's real bad to start. But baseball, you do this crap every day, as Rocco Baldelli likes to say. But
Yeah,
Are
a couple.
do you really
years ago-
think someone would do that, Eric? Just go on the internet and be negative?
I can't think of a single example. I'm speaking that into existence. That's what's happening.
A couple of years ago, so sorry to go back into, but so in 2022, the Lions started off 1-7, and then they went and ended the season 9-8. And Jared Goff, quarterback for the Lions, he said that Detroit media is so negative when the Lions started winning. It's like they didn't know how to respond to that, so everything got quiet.
We talked about it briefly a couple of weeks ago, but like the the negative things that kind of like bother us is like from our fan bases. And like that's I think that's true for everyone. And I think that's part like a defensive mechanism because you don't want to care too much because then the disappointment hits twice as much. And in baseball, you're going to fail. So like it's much easier just to say, we're gonna suck. I expect us to suck. I don't want to believe them. I don't want to hear otherwise because then I have to care and I don't want to have my heart broken. But Dan, I don't know what your thoughts on because I do think
Also,
you missed that one.
I think that's probably right. But the issue for me is that's such a cop out in a way because you can, no pain if you assume things are going to go bad and then they do. You can go, I told you so. I told you it was going to, we were going to go 0-17, or I told you we were going to get swept by whoever. And then you get to be all on your high horse about being right, about being cynical, which
Yes.
this is fun, man. This is a children's game we're playing. That,
Yeah.
that we're watching. Like, I don't want to live that way. Last year, the Guardians probably punched a little over their weight class last year. But to make the ALCS, to have a fun summer like that, yeah, they didn't win the big trophy at the end. But I had fun, man. Like, that's. I think I said it last week.
Exactly.
There are very few things better than summer and your baseball team is really good. Like, there's something to look forward to every day. And that's not, only one team gets the trophy at the end. Enjoy it anyway. Same deal with the Cavs
That
this year.
doesn't mean that 29 teams failed. Just because
Right.
you didn't win doesn't mean the season was a failure.
I
think
want to go
I
back
think
to
it's
the
a
cynical thing for just a second.
Yeah, go
Only
ahead.
because in sports, the easiest thing for you to do is to crap on everything. If the manager is always terrible, well, guess what? Eventually that manager is going to be fired and you're going to go, see, told you 5 years ago. Doesn't matter if he won 3 World Series. He was crap from the first day they hired him. I knew it. Look how correct I am. Or once they sign the big free agent, oh, that guy's going to be a bust. Well, by the time he's 39 years old and the highest got paid guy on the team, yeah, he is going to be a bust. And you can say, oop, I told you again, what a genius I am. Look at me, everyone. I could play
It's
GM
totally.
for a day.
And it's one thing if you act in good faith with that sort of thing. Like, if the Guards signed a free agent that I thought was going to be a poor decision 5 years down the line, I would make that known. I think of I this town 12 years ago loved the idea of signing Nick Swisher. And I was like, that's not going to go well. Like, that guy is going to flame out in the back half. And I was right. But if they make it, that's the thing though, is you got to act. I don't do that for everything all the time. Some people out there are just, they're waiting for the shoe to drop no matter what.
They want
It's
to be
frustrating.
correct.
Yeah,
And
at the
Go
end
ahead,
of last season, when the Tigers go on a miracle run, sweep the Astros in the playoffs, and take it to Game 5 of the ALDS, 3 days later, was a bunch of people going, "Oh, they're not going to do anything in the off season. They're going to sit there and find some 35-year-old pitcher and a couple relievers, and then they're going to go and be below 500 again." I'm like, God damn it! Can't you just enjoy this for like a week?
So I might ruffle feathers with this part, but I think it's similar. If you want to say that I'm going to talk for all of us for a second, that our small to medium market owners are cheap, I get it. They probably kind of are. But for that to be your whole sports fan personality is just to complain about the owner all the time and nothing's ever good because the owner doesn't spend. Again, I brought this up once a long time ago. Well, not can't be that long. We haven't been doing this that long. But
Episode
I made a
17.
statement at one point, and Eric, you went like, Dan, it's different from you. Cleveland runs a good organization, and the stuff they do is probably going to work out a lot of the time. But so maybe my perspective is a little different. But to me, that's just, yes, the Dolans could spend more. But this is really hard. Like, the Dodgers are going to be allowed to spend you no matter what anyway. You got to be creative, even if you do spend more.
Yeah,
So,
they're getting $1 billion from Japan. You can't
Yes.
beat that. It's
Right.
like, let's not try and compare to the market of New York and LA plus the entire country
So
of Japan.
if you want to lament that you can't sign a couple more extra free agents, I totally understand that. But just for that to be your whole thesis for your fandom is just ridiculous. Enjoy the damn game. Like,
Right. And like, as the anti-owner guy whose team just apparently, like, if anyone hadn't heard, the Rays just sold for, oh, what's that, 1.7 billion last week?
no kidding. I didn't know that.
Weird. What are the Twins trying to sell their team for? We'll see. But as the stated anti-ownership guy, it's one aspect of the team. And the poll ads, as much as I don't like them, and would love a new ownership to come in, it's one aspect. And they do hire guys and let them do their job, which is great. That's what you want for an owner. Unless, like, I don't want a George Steinbrenner. That would drive me effing insane.
Mhm.
But the Twins generally do have to draft well. I'm not asking for these owners to spend 300 million or 200 million. If you are the 15th biggest market in the US or in baseball, be the 15th payroll.
Yeah.
That to me, I think, is completely fair. And yes, I am. If those who have listened to Twins podcast and you're listening to Gleeman and the Geek, I'm taking that directly from Aaron Gleeman because that's an excellent effing point. I think that's a realistic avenue to take. But if you're looking like Cleveland, like, yes, they develop well. Yes, they do a lot of things well. But they can also, like, there's a lot of, well, we don't need to spend money because we draft well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can do both.
Yeah. Well, the comeback to that is always, well, you have this great core of young players. Imagine if you added a couple vets that were quality. Like, and I get that. Like, I get. I'm not saying that wouldn't be a good thing. I get frustrated when you're not you, Eric. People as a whole,
The royal you.
like that's the entirety of their knowledge base for how they perceive a team.
And that's such like such crap radio show talk. And like,
so
that
easy.
bothers me.
Like, if you're the fifth in spending, you can always go, well, why aren't they third in spending?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You can always, there's always, oh, we didn't sign this guy. We are too cheap. It's just the easy way out for everything.
Go ahead.
I think part of it is it's a lot easier to do that in baseball just because money works a lot differently in baseball than it does especially in the NFL and in the NBA. And I think, as I've said in previous conversations, I think there are a lot of teams who are right now saying the new collective bargaining agreement is going to save us. There are also a lot of fans who are saying right now the new collective bargaining agreement is going to save us. And I think there will be some leveling of the field in the new collective bargaining agreement financially, but it's not going to get to the point like in the NFL where every team is, capable of signing any player.
Right.
Yeah, like, I mean, there's, if you just looking at like money that teams will get from media and just the markets there is no way the market of Cincinnati or Kansas City can compete with New York or Los Angeles. Like, it's just not going to happen.
And like, I know we're really kind of deviating off from our main point here, but if there's the parity in the NFL because they have a salary cap. That's because the talent, like, it's easier to look at an NFL or an NBA matchup and see who the best players are and say, this team is clearly the better team. They're going to win this by, 2 touchdowns or by 15 points. In baseball, if you're going to gamble, the most likely outcome is the best team wins 2 out of 3. The second most likely outcome of a 3-game series is the worst team wins 2 out of 3. It's a crapshoot. When you go into the playoffs, it's the same thing. Like,
because you can take any team and get their best pitchers and put against, you can take the worst team with their best pitching and put it up against the best team with their worst pitching, and the worst team will win because of like the pitching matchups work out that way.
To this point, the NBA is driven by stars because that guy can hold the ball for 90%. Nobody ever does except for maybe James Harden, but they can hold the ball for like 90% of the time and just dominate the game. Football, obviously, there's like a position in the game that's the most important in the quarterback, where if you got a good quarterback, your chances of winning go up exponentially. Again, Cleveland's looking for QB1. Don't know much about that. But with baseball, you get 9 guys. They bat in order.
Yep.
You can't in the 9th inning. You can't have your best hitter go up the way you could throw the ball to Nikola Jokic every time down the floor. And additionally, the one guy that could be that star that could carry you would be the starting pitcher, and those dudes are throwing less and less year by year.
Yep.
And they only throw 8 innings in 5 games. Maybe.
Yes. So that's purely, there's a lot more variation possible, and that leads to what you guys are talking about. Just at face value.
The star batter only comes up to bat 4, maybe 5 times. They're only on the field for a 9th.
And of those 4 or 5 times, they're only going to get 1 or 2 hits, most likely. So, and not, just to bring it all around, if you're going to complain, enjoy the ride, like Dan was saying. Like, stop taking the low hanging. I get whatever. Cheer however you want to cheer. It's your fandomship. But like, if you're not going to enjoy the ride, why are you watching sports in general? Unless you're miserable in your life and you just want to make other people miserable doing something while they watch something they also enjoy. And that bothers me a lot.
Yeah. Anyway, Scott Harris and Illich got a lot of crap in this offseason because we didn't add much. We only added Gleyber Torres on offense, blah, blah, blah. We have the best record in baseball. Like, it was that Gleyber Torres signing was a very good signing, and a lot of people did not like that signing. Yeah. But, like, even if you're not working with the largest budget in the world, use it smart. Make the right decisions. It's...
Yeah, that's what it comes
people are... Yeah,
whatever your team decides to do, it better be good at it. If you're going to spend $400 million on your payroll, you better pick the right $400 million to spend. If you're going to spend on draft picks and trades, you better trade for the right guys and you better send the right guys out. Yeah, if you can't do that, you suck at your job and will be fired.
Like the Dodgers winning because they have $1 billion and they gave a bunch of pitchers $1 billion. They have a bunch of pitchers $1 billion who all get injured all the time. Right. And they have like 17 injured pitchers right now.
But let's talk about that for a minute. Yes, the Dodgers spend a crap ton of money. They're also a really, really well-run organization. Yeah. Like Andrew Freeman came from Tampa where he was incredible there, making something out of nothing. And everything you heard about this past World Series was how prepared the Dodgers were for the Yankees. And scouting, player development, the whole thing. Yes, they spend a lot of money. That's not all they do over there. It's
right.
Know what you're good at and be good at it. It was
Their
what Eric was saying.
Development has been top notch for decades.
Well, guess what? They're good at everything. So they are going to be really good for a long time, not just because they're spending, but because they're good at everything.
Well, I don't even think it's debatable. They're the best run team in baseball. And I think there's a large gap between the second. Because I don't the Rays are probably, but they don't have the payroll.
By the way,
go ahead.
The Rays are playing in a minor league ballpark. I don't think they should get. I think we should knock them down a little bit for that.
And by the way, they spend a lot of money. But guess what makes free agents want to come to your team in the first place? You run an organization really well and you have a chance to win.
And you live in California where you can
And
get
you live
tax
in.
benefits.
That does help.
Great point.
So, anyway, well, good. I think that was as far as rants go.
Yeah.
Good work, Gus.
Well, hey, I have some really exciting news to share. Is that Lisa Smiths is writing to us to propose a collaboration that they think could mutually benefit us as a streamer.
Oh, great.
Their goal is to help talented streamers like yourself reach a wider audience and grow your viewership.
Well,
They
thanks,
have a
Robot.
strong
We
social network
appreciate
of
it.
gaming enthusiasts and social media followers who are always looking for exciting new streams. Thank you, Robot, for writing a comment on our stream.
That's cool. Nice of them to go. Can we talk about prospects now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry to derail us, everybody.
Oh,
No,
that
it was a good
good.
conversation.
It was very therapeutic. Like,
Yeah.
felt good.
We all feel better.
Because we're like the best fans, right? We were talking to the choir, right? We were talking
Totally.
out. Felt good. So we were originally gonna not talk about whatever I said before Dan came on about Cleveland was gonna go last. I lied, but
Okay.
we're gonna talk about prospects. We were originally gonna talk about the draft as well, but I think we're just gonna push that off to a next episode. So what I want to do, there's a couple things that I pulled together just making these. One, for those who aren't familiar with like the 20/80 grade scale, I just wanted to go through that, and then also like some people don't. I don't want to like I don't want this to sound negative. I don't think some people understand like how important age is at the level you're performing at in the minors. So I wanted to at least touch on that. So when we go through the prospect list, which I took from MLB.com, you can use what like they will differ slightly from wherever you want to get, whether that's Fangraphs, Baseball Perspective, Baseball America. They all differ. I just chose this because I like their setup, and frankly, it was easier to screenshot. So these can all be different, and a lot of these haven't updated yet. They will probably update just after the draft, but as we're leading into the draft, it's probably a good time to go into it. So I just wanted to just very briefly just kind of share some context for everyone. Just context for age of minor leagues. This is a little dated. Jeff Moore wrote this for when Baseball Perspective, I think, wasn't even called Baseball Perspective or Baseball Prospectus, or it was Fangraphs. I can't remember. I think it was like Baseball Think Tank is when he actually wrote this in 2013. However, an average age for a AAA player is around 26. Now that inflates it because you have a lot of pseudo like quad A players who are either have been in the majors going down or just kind of like roster depth. Double A, the median age for a double A player is 24. That is really like the high end development. Once you're in triple A, you're like a good hot streak away from being in the majors, but the last like key development area is double A. You will probably spend a fair amount of your prospectum, if you have any promise, in double A the longest. For high A, it's just under 23, and for low A, it's just under 21 and a half years. Again, it might have changed slightly in the 12 years since it was written, but that should at least give you a decent idea. Secondarily, there is a really weird grading scale for baseball prospects. I don't know why, but they chose to start from 20 and end at 80. If you have any, like if your overall prospect or you have individual tools, they all kind of grade the same. But if you are ranked 20 to 30 on that scale, you are well below average. If you're 40, you're below average. If you have a 50 tool or overall prospect grade, you're average. You are projected to be an average major league player. 60 is above average. 70 and 80, we're talking MVP level. 60 might be like an all-star range. So don't know how many people really needed that, but I thought it would at least be kind of worth to talk about, just to kind of talk at the top. So what we'll do is we'll talk. I looked at Keith Law's list from The Athletic, who did like a ranking of the farm systems in general, and then we will just go into I then looked at the team's top 100 prospects from MLB.com, and then I just picked their top 6 because it fit nicely on the slide. It's the only reason I picked the 6. I will show the stats, but we'll also talk about their 2080 grades if anybody's cares to talk about that. But I thought we would first start with Cleveland, but first I wanted to read Keith Law's blurb about them that he wrote in February of this year. So again, he'll update this just after. So the Guardians he had ranked in their second tier, 5th overall, and the Guardians have a reputation as a premium developer for pitching, which they have earned after successes of guys like Bieber, Bybee, and who's Bobby Beebe? That has to be sarcasm? Yes, no Bobby Beebe, right?
Yeah, that has to be like just a joke on the names that precede it.
Okay, I'm going to go with that. As of right now, their system is stacked with bats, and they're going to need to stay contenders to improve in improving in the AL Central. 9 of their top 10 prospects right now are hitters, 6 of whom are in the top 100, and that's his top 100. He does a lot of his own prospects. That isn't the list that I pulled from. The remaining pitching prospects are back-end starters, which don't have much velocity. Well, not yet. Why not yet? Dan, why don't you explain what Cleveland has been doing for the last decade with their pitching prospects?
They teach velocity and spin, and they're very good at it. They find strike throwers, and that's what they teach them. To put it simply.
But how exciting that they actually have, like, bats. And that actually does kind of translate to what MLB.com thinks is these are all of the players that now show up on their top 100 prospect lists. Last year's first-round pick, Bonanza, and then you have DeLauer, Cheerio. I don't even want to pronounce... I don't know how to pronounce that, Dan. How do you say that?
I believe that's Ganau.
Ganau, and then
Angel
Would not
Ganau.
have been my guess.
Angel.
Is it Angel Ganau?
So, Dan, why don't you talk a little bit about Bonanza, or Bazana, sorry.
Bazana. Yeah.
Bazinga.
Travis Bazzano is the first overall pick in last year's draft. He went to Oregon State. However, he is originally from Australia. He actually has played professional baseball previous to being in the minors when he actually played in the Australian League for a handful of games when he was a teenager. But he is a second baseman who is like I've talked about kind of the profile that the Guardians look for. Bat to ball guys, middle infielders, and outfielders that are athletic and they feel like they can teach positions and teach to hit for power. He is like the super version of that. In that, he showed some power in college and they think they can continue to build on that, but also, was able to hit for contact. Obviously, as a number 1 overall, got all 5 tools. And the thing with him is there was a thought that maybe he would make the team this year at the end of the year, maybe get a cup of coffee in the majors, maybe help with a postseason push. But he got injured earlier this spring, this late spring into the summer, and that's probably going to stunt his development for this year. So I don't suspect we'll see him yet.
His best tool is his hit tool. Grades out as a 70, decent power, 55 overall, and then can run a little bit. Everything else is just kind of average. His overall prospect grade is a 60, so looks like he's kind of on track with that. His average isn't stellar, but that's fine. Nobody really cares about that. His on-base percentage, though, I think is pretty healthy for...
He was also really heavily favored as the first overall pick for Cleveland because he is very much a student of the game. I guess he did really well when they were kind of interviewing him, talking about kind of all the tech and development tools that the Guardians use. He's just very savvy and interested in kind of the sabermetric side of things as well. And I think that I thought of that because of on base. He also has a great batting eye, and I think that's part of the package there.
Sure. And also, like, in the low minors, like, pitchers don't know where the hell the ball's going.
Yeah, makes it a little bit easier to get that high OBP. But hey, he could be swinging and chasing, and he's not.
Yeah. DeLauer, I'll just go over his prospect grades. He's overall a 55 graded outfield prospect. He's 23 in AAA right now. Hit tool is 60, power is 60, and everything else, well, honestly, it's 50, 60 in field as far as run, arm, and then field. So pretty decent prospect. He has to be close. No?
DeLauder's biggest issue has been health as well. He was their first round pick in 2022, 16th overall. As you were saying, hits for both power and average. He just literally needs to stay healthy. He's had a number of foot injuries coming into this year, and then, be honest with you, I forget what he injured this year, but he missed the start of the season. He has gotten to AAA this year in 23 games. He's got a 961 OPS, and so he's hitting. And that is an outfield that is devoid of guys that are hitting right now. I think the goal was always for him to see the field in the majors this year, and I think that's probably going to happen before the season's over. I know Chris Antonetti was the Indian Guardians president was interviewed during one of the games the other day, and they just want to see him get to a point where he's playing enough days in a row where they feel like he's healthy and it's sustained for a little bit, and then I think we're going to see him.
Moving on, I'm assuming that's another Churio brother, right?
Yeah, that's one of the Churio brothers. He's a little bit further, down on the farm there at Double A or
20.
High A.
Yep.
20 years old, and on his end of things, I think just 5-tool guy. I'm a little bit more fuzzy on him just because he's a little bit
His
lower
overall
on the
prospect
total.
grade is a 55. Hit tool is 60. Power 45. We'll see. I mean, he's 6'1", 162 pounds. He can develop power. He's only 20 years old. Runs pretty fast, but that'll probably switch if he does add on muscle. Decent arm. Decent in the field.
Yeah, it just kind of fits their profile for an athletic guy that they think that they can develop.
Angel, our favorite. He'll probably be an all-star now just because we didn't know how to say him. He'll make us ruin this.
Are we sure it's Angel? Maybe it's Angel because I've heard.
Lee, we can't mess up everything at once. We can, actually. We can mess it up. Let us have this. It probably is Angel, but you're right, 100%.
Genau is somebody that's just well, go ahead, Eric.
Overall prospect grade 55. Best tool is his hit tool. Almost a carbon copy of Churio. Low power, decent run, decent arm, decent field.
Again, middle infielder. They think they can turn athletes into third basemen, right fielders, whatever it is they feel like they need to. And hit tool, another guy that puts bat to ball, makes good swing decisions. They think they can teach to hit for power.
Also a switch hitter.
Also a switch hitter. Another thing that they love, Jose Ramirez, Brian Rocchio, amongst others. I'm kind of blanking now, unfortunately, but that is part of the profile as well when they can get it.
Yeah. CJ Kafis in AAA right now. He's 23 years old. Overall prospect, he's a 55. Hit tool, 55. That's his best. His worst tool is just everything else is a 50, so power. Kind of weird for a corner outfielder, but we'll see. What's his slugging? He's hitting his slugging percentage this year is 577, so clearly that's not holding him back.
Kafis is another guy that I think the fans are starting to clamor for to come to the bigs. He's had an awesome year at AAA. Slash line 306, 378, 572, 9 home runs in 173 at bats, and profiled as a solid contact guy, as you were saying. I think there was a little bit of concern that he was going to be a first baseman only in the majors, but they've taught him some right field, and I think that could be a potential opportunity for him as well. And he's another guy that I would actually prefer to see him before DeLauder just because he swung it so well at AAA for a longer period of time.
And then just rounding out the top 6, and again, the only reason they're 6 is because it fit nicely on 2 slides. Ralphie Velasquez, 20 years old in high A. First base prospect. Best tool is power. Decent hit. His fielding is 40, which is probably why he's 20 years old and already playing first base. So I'm assuming he's going to have to mash in order to get to the majors.
Yeah, Velasquez bucks the trend here a little bit, obviously, kind of being a counterexample to everything else described. But they like him for his power, and there's an opportunity down the line for first base to open up, or even DH, and that's where his role would be. I think it's very telling that really good organization, highly ranked. He's their sixth prospect, even with those deficiencies in the field.
I muted myself. That's good for me. So, question you're not prepared for. As we're approaching the trade deadline, it's looking like, assuming we're going to assume every team is going to buy, because why not?
Sure.
Which of those 6 do you think is the most likely, not saying they will be traded or that the chances are high for any of them, but which of those 6 is most likely to be traded?
I would think it would be the guys that are kind of further away from the bigs. I think one of Churio or Ganau could be traded. I would prefer Ganau because we just have so many of them middle infielders already that we could kind of use. And I just think Churio's just because of his lineage is a little bit more of an interesting prospect. That very well may be a reason to shop him, though. I think it's got to be one of those two, though, just at face value.
What would you, and again, this is impossible to predict, so I'm asking everyone to do the impossible, and it's not like I thought of this just now, so everyone else can think about these. What would you expect to get in return? 4th starter? Or should I come back to you?
Expect to get back in return an outfielder that can play every day and similar to Lane Thomas, but better than he's been this year, if you know what I mean. Like somebody that they can plug in. It doesn't have to be an all-star, but a guy that's going to have a 110 OPS, play the outfield adequately. That kind of, for one of those guys, that's what I think I'd expect. And it kind of, they traded Jose Tena, who was maybe like a 6th or 7th ranked prospect last year, for Thomas. So maybe a little bit better, actually, than what I'm saying, but somewhere in that realm.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. That was an unfair question for me to ask because who the F knows what they're going to get, and there would be more than
Now, if we're talking about trading DeLauder or Bazana, a lot more than that. And I actually would be okay with them, as I think about it for a minute, given his injury history. I wouldn't be upset if we traded DeLauder. I think a lot of people would be because the next big thing, shiny toy you have in the minors is always what everybody wants.
Yeah.
I think I'd be okay with it just because I just don't know that guy's going to stay on the field.
Yeah. It all depends on what you get back.
Yeah. For the right price, sorry, Chase, I'd be willing to sell you.
Moving on, Detroit was, according to Keith Law, in earlier this year, they were the 7th overall farm system, still in his tier 2. I understand this is probably a low bar, so sorry. This is the only negative we can say about the Tigers probably this whole season. This has to be the best Tiger system I've ever written up. Probably the best since their minors had guys like Justin Verlander, Curtis Granderson, Cameron Maybin, and maybe 20 years ago. They're drafting better and developing better. They've made very few shrewd trades. The Jack Flaherty one really stands out as a winner. And they seem to be targeting some more polished hitters and on the international market to get guys to fit better with their player development regime. This is a huge turnaround over from when the pandemic hit. Lee, does that track?
It tracks. It very much does. Dave Dombrowski, the general manager before Al Avila, he would trade away the prospects all the time to get star players. Like, very fair. But that also meant we didn't have a farm system. Al Avila, great at drafting. I think we can give him that. But the player development was awful. And so those players never developed into guys. So... But Scott Harris, ever since Scott Harris took over, it's been looking a lot better. We've had our players develop a lot better. Yeah. And he's made some good draft picks.
Okay. At the start of this year, they had 5 top 100 prospects, leading off with Max Clark. and then we'll just kind of go into their top 6 overall prospects. But yeah, Max Clark, couple more than a couple years away. Yeah, actually, just a couple years away, and then another guy whose name I'm not going to try to pronounce. No one's really
Kevin McGonigal.
close, which is kind of
McGonigal.
scary, but that makes sense if they just recently started drafting and developing well. So we'll just
Yeah.
move on. Speaking of Max Clark, he was their top pick in 2023. He's just overall his best overall tool. He has a 70 graded run. Everything else is 60, except for his power, which is still projected to be an average power hitter. Lee, what do you know about Max Clark?
Yeah, so he's looking to be a good 5-tool player. He plays center field a lot. He's got good defense. He runs fast. He hits the ball pretty well. His power hasn't really come in as much, but he still has a good amount of power, and he's hitting 267 right now. So it makes a lot of good contact, makes good power, and good outfielder, good defense. So it's looking like a really good 5-tool player that we're getting. Also, he has a very big social media presence and like is very much like online a lot. He's got a lot of personality. 97.1 described him as the type of player that if he wasn't on your team, you'd probably hate because he's like annoyingly good and also got a lot of flair to it. So look forward to that, guys. It's not like in a bad way because he's a good
Yeah.
guy. It's just he's very loud about it.
Yeah,
So
that's fine.
right after he was drafted, he made these cleats where one of them had positive comments from the internet and another had negative comments from the internet. And that was pretty funny. Like just reactions to his draft. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of people didn't like that we drafted a high schooler, in the 5th overall or whatever it was.
Which is because like it was the first year of like the player the lottery for MLB. It was the first year that they did that, and there were 5 good players, and the Twins slid up to the 5th pick, and it was a 5-player draft. That was the Paul Skeens, that was the Wyatt Langford, Max Clark, Walker Jenkins, and I'm blanking on the 5th name if anyone can think of that. While I'm struggling, but yeah, it was literally 5. So if they had a problem, like by the time the Tigers picked, what did they pick? 3rd? Yeah, battle. It doesn't matter. They only really had 2 high schoolers to pick from. So if you were upset over that, they could have just taken a worse player. Next up, Kevin McGonigal. Is that like?
Yeah, it's McGonigal.
It's
McGonigal.
so like Harry Potter McGonagall.
Yes.
Oh, he's going to be very popular.
Oh yeah, people are already trying to get him to be known as like the professor, but like I'm like no, you're trying too hard for that.
Nope, they're not at all. So he is a 55 overall prospect. His best tool is his hit. He has 65 overall. Decent everywhere else. Slightly above run. Everything else is grades at 50.
So he's probably he was in the same draft as Clark was. People think that Clark will probably be the better overall player, but McGonigal has the potential to be the best hitter in terms of because so his sample size is a little bit small because he started off the season injured. I think it was like a twisted ankle or something. But right now in 33 games, he has a 366 batting average with a 1.126 OPS. He hits so much. He's got a good amount of power too, but he has a ridiculous on base percentage right now, 459. He gets on base a lot. He has a ridiculous hit streak going on right now. He will get 3, 4, 5 hits a game. And he is really looking like a great hitter. He's probably going to make it up to AAA this year, I'd say. There's even a lot of people being like, maybe we could pull him up to the Tigers, but like, I think it's a little much. But he is that good.
He's in high A right now. Let's
yeah,
and 20 years old. Let's
A.
cool that.
Yeah, that's my reaction. But like, he's hitting very well right now, so he's very exciting. He's probably not gonna stay at short the whole way. Probably gonna go to second, but his defense is fine. But the best thing about him is he hits very well. And then I had us go to number 4 instead of number 3, just because these guys are all on the Whitecaps right now in High A, and I want to talk about kind of them as a set a little bit.
So
Yeah,
how do you, Jose
I think it's
Briseño?
Josue.
Josue
Josue
Briseño?
Briseño.
Briseño. Okay. Well, also 20 years old, 6'4". He's a big boy. Um, overall, 55. Power is what he's going to come. A below average runner, below average fielder. That makes sense because he's already playing first. He's not going to play catcher if he's already playing first. Decent arm, but yeah, what does he do well other than wear a? I don't like that he's wearing the overhead turtleneck.
It's a little weird. Yeah, he has a lot of power. He has right now. Had this up because I was looking in. All right, this year in 47 games, he has 14 home runs already. He slugs. He's still playing catcher. I don't. Yeah, so he's probably going to end up moving to first base eventually. So we'll kind of see about that. But they still have him playing catcher right now. But yeah, he rakes. That's pretty much the summary
Yeah.
of it. Uh, he had he has a lot of huge home runs this season in high A, and I want to talk about these three at the same time because Tigers fans are very excited about these three together because the West Michigan Whitecaps team is very good right now. They
Yeah.
clinched the playoff spot a few weeks ago, and we are waiting on the news for these three guys to be moved up any day now, pretty much, because Max Clark maybe not, but McGonigal and Briseño should be moved up. I mean, the only reason against McGonigal is he hasn't played as much because he started off injured, but they are playing very well. Briseño has a 977 OPS. Very excited about him. He's looking, yeah, just defense is really
How
a big thing, but
how far away are you from the? You're in Michigan. How far is this drive?
it's like 2 hours.
Oh, that's worth it. Like you should
I
100% go to one
should.
of
I
these.
really should. I keep trying to find a good time, but it's like I got work or I need to look. Maybe they'll play in Lansing, and then I'll just go to Lansing because that's only an hour away from me.
I mean, that would be really fun to watch.
I very much should.
I'll say they're all 20. They'll sign however many autographs, and there's going to be 500 people in the stands. I love minor
No,
league baseball.
they're actually pretty popular in West Michigan. The stands fill up a lot.
Well, when you're this good, I can believe that.
Yeah, they are very good and they're very exciting, and they're probably going to be called up very soon.
Yeah, because I think, I mean, the Twins, they play, their high A team is in Cedar Rapids, and they just clinched their first season, the first half season, either playoff spot or championship, and they called up one of their prospects. So I'm assuming that's what the Tigers are doing, assuming that division is set up the same, but I don't know that.
I'm assuming they're just waiting on like the schedules to line up because Erie just the AA team in Erie just clinched their playoff spot,
Yeah.
and I'm assuming they're just waiting for like them both to be home at the same time or whatever,
Yeah.
to move people up.
Okay. We'll move on. We're back to their third prospect, 55 grade overall. Best tool is his arm. Well, it's shortstop. He might actually stick there then. Then he has 60 overall power, 55 hit, decent field. Yeah, 19 years old, playing in low A.
Yeah, so he was last year's first round draft pick out of high school again. I don't have a lot to say about him except he's looking. The shortstop is very much a possibility for him to stay at. He's done a lot of work with Alan Trammell, who's like the infield coach guy, and Trammell is like, yeah, his infield defense is very good. So excited about that. Don't have a lot to say about his hitting, except it looks like it could be good. But he is out for the season this year.
Oh.
He injured his shoulder coming back to first on like a back pick type situation, and he had to get season-ending surgery. So won't be seeing him for the rest of the season, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But he's the kind of a guy that they have pegged as a potential 5-tool guy who maybe not for a lot of power, but could make good contact, play defense well, could run fast. So we'll see. he's 19 playing in low A. It's not really a lot to kind of go off of.
Next up, Lerzano, 55 overall grade. Best tool is his power and his arm, but they're both at 60. Below average fielder and a decent hit. 55 overall prospect. Will he stick a catcher? I think that'll probably be the biggest question.
Yeah, he's still playing catcher. It's kind of a question for both him and Josue. Yeah, Theron he's the guy that we got for the Jack Flaherty trade, and people he's a switch hitting catcher with a lot of power, which is pretty much the big points for him. He's not exactly tearing it up in Double A right now, but he just moved up to Double A this year, so we'll see how that comes. But if he kind of stick to that power and if he sticks around a catcher, because he caught at spring training this year, so I think they're planning to have him stay at catcher. But he could always move. Kind of, we'll see. I think he's 20, 21, so he's still really young.
21.
Yeah.
We'll see. And with catcher too, I know that the Twins have done this with an Austin Martin, or they do it with Mickey Gasper now. They're fine they played Austin Martin at shortstop even though they knew he wasn't going to be a major league shortstop, because just to get the reps in. I'm going to assume if they're already playing Lerzano off of catcher, they're not going to play him at all, but they'll keep the tool set warm just in case they need it, but we'll see.
I think also they've got another guy at catcher that you want Theron to play, so you put him at first, so that just so you can get the other catcher guy to catch. I think that's how they usually do it, or I don't know. I think their last word on it was that they want him to still be a catcher, because he came to spring training and caught with all the major league pitchers and everything. It was a really fun story in the off season when he was catching for Jack Flaherty, but
sure.
Yeah.
I just want to add real quick. You did say he has a 60 grade arm, so that works in his favor.
Yes.
And Lee, you said they maybe have other options in the minors, but I just wanted to mention that Dylan Dingler and his 2% walk rate isn't a long-term solution. So you guys are going to need to find a different catcher down the line. So perhaps it's Lorenzo.
Well, maybe Dylan Dingler is the solution. Did you think about that? And his walk rate will go up.
Well,
I was making a serious point about the arm, and I had to throw that there. I apologize.
Yeah, you're fine.
Well, technically, we're all options to catch for the Tigers, too. It just doesn't mean they're good options.
Fair.
Or a solution.
Yeah. So we'll see about him. He looks like a good option coming from the great trade. We'll see how he develops.
Next up, Yahoo Lee, 22-year-old in high A. He's not a marginal prospect. His overall grade is 50. His hit tool is 55.
Yeah, so we traded for him. He's what we got in return for Michael Lorenzen. He's a guy that has good defense. He was hitting very well in spring training. He's hitting pretty well in AAA right now. Not so much for power, but for contact. And he's a guy that, if needed, he could potentially come up to the Tigers. But we've got better options who have more major league experience right now, which is why he's just getting more experience at AAA, because we've got Jace Young to come up ahead of him at second. We got Keith and Torres, so he's a little bit blocked at second. He's only recently moved over to third is the thing, but he's a guy that could be a long potential short to long term solution at third. But there's also a lot of competition for that spot.
Same questions I asked Dan. Who of that group is the most likely to be traded? Not saying it's high or that it will happen, but who is the most likely?
I would say, if I had to pick, I'd probably go with Lorenzo or Briseño, just because we can't have two catcher / first baseman at the same position. It's going to be a little bit, and especially if Torkelson ends up being a long-term solution at first, right? Or if Dingler ends up being a long-term solution at catcher, you're going to need a backup guy. But Yeah, or it's just more of there's a lot of depth at that spot, so you could end up trading one of those. Maybe Hal Yulee for a team that like
Yeah.
needs a third baseman or something.
That's who
But
I would. That's who. But
yeah,
popped out because he's nearly major league ready, and like it, I mean, it sounds like there's kind of a rotation at third base anyway. But I think that would be my pick of who's likely. If it was a 1-for-1 trade, what kind of player do you think they would get back?
I don't know. Don't ask me. I'm not a GM.
Okay, well,
Um,
never mind then. You don't need
a
to answer that.
probably a bullpen guy that we can fix.
Fair enough.
Probably
Low
that.
end starter. Would you
Yeah.
so? Would you get a just a regular? If you just got a smack average third baseman,
No, I mean
no,
we have average third baseman right now. We have
fair
Zach
enough.
McKinstry. Like we don't need. We'd have to get a better player than that. And I don't think any of these guys on their own would be able to get that. We'd have to like put together some kind of package.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Scott Harris has said that there's no one that's an untouchable in terms of like will not trade them. But I have to imagine that like Clark and McGonigal, you're not going to trade those guys away because
No.
those like. But well, I mean, yeah, this is going to be the first time in a decade that Tigers were buying, and it's the first test for Scott Harris to buy instead of sell. So we'll see.
Yeah, interesting. Next up, we'll touch on them not briefly, just because Oren isn't here. He has a difficult schedule to work with. He's a very sociable person. So the White Sox, for the first time in probably a decade, are actually in the top half of Keith Law's overall list. He wrote back in February, Chicago's system has improved dramatically in the last 18 months thanks to a couple of big trades and draft successes. Although the list drops off significantly after their top six, they still don't have the depth every team needs to fill out the back end of a roster. They have 3 former top 100 prospects that all need to get something back on track, plus 2023 first rounder Jacob Gonzalez, who hasn't looked anywhere near as good in pro ball as he did in college. This is actually one of the spot lower than they were last year as a result of so many guys going backward in the system in 2024. The way up, but they are way up from 2023, where they were 28th, 2023 where they were literally, and he says this, the worst, like the Bears, which is, I believe, a 30-year-old reference. So good on Keith Law.
It's still being used today. It's still the
God,
Bears.
God bless Keith Farley, or Keith Farley. Goodness, Chris Farley. They currently have 4 top 100 prospects. Either in two of them, well, one of them in the majors. Noah Schultz, I think, maybe made his debut this year, and then Double A Hagen Smith and then Braden Montgomery. Just quickly, Noah Schultz has a 60 overall grade. His best pitch is a 70 graded slider, and then he has 55 control. He's in he's in AAA right now, 3.92 ERA in 62 innings. Teal, who made his debut already this year, he's hitting not much for slugging, but he has the 767 OPS. He has a 55 overall graded prospect. He's a good hitting catcher, but he only grades out as a 55 hit, 50 overall power, and then just kind of below average from there. We'll see if that's actually his best, if he stays catch as their long-term solution. Hagen Smith, who I believe also made, oh, actually, no, he's in Double A right now. It's really hard to gauge who's debuted for the White Sox. They've had so many of them. He's a left-handed pitcher, 21 years old, in Double A. His best pitch is actually tied. It's a fastball and a slider, which is probably the 2 most consistent pitches, that are paired together. Control 50, probably has to straighten that out a little bit better, but it looks like yet another left-handed starting pitcher for the Cubs, or for the White Sox, is coming in, because Schultz is also left-handed. Braden Montgomery, 22-year-old bat switch. Best overall tool is his arm. He has above average power. He's probably going to play in the corners. That would be my guess. He has 50 overall run. Looks like it's really his first full season. pretty decent slugging, 839 OPS so far in 66 games. The other Montgomery, Colson, is in AAA, and it doesn't look like he's having that stellar of a season with a 607 OPS. He has a overall grade of 50, 55 power, 55 field. Shortstop though, so that'll play pretty well. And then finally, Grant Taylor, who is a 50 overall prospect. Best pitch as a fastball, and then a 60 graded cutter, and not much else. Below average control, so we'll see if he can actually straighten that out. But right now, he's in the White Sox, so he's currently has in 7 games a 2.25 ERA. So we'll see. That's about as good as the White Sox have been in a farm system in at least a decade. I don't know. I don't care. Well, but that's not true because they had Luis Robert, Eloy, Moncada.
I just want to point out.
Jerry screws it up this time.
I just want to point out real quick. We've been through 3 teams. The 3 highest rated prospect teams, or highest graded teams of our division. We've had 3 pitchers so far.
Yeah.
One right-handed pitcher, and he's the White Sox number 6 prospect.
And he's not marginal, but like I don't think he's bound for many All-Star games.
Is the future of the AL Central going to be an offensive slugfest bloodbath? Is that what we're looking at?
No.
Is that what we're learning from this exercise?
If you take out offense slugfest and just leave bloodbath, yeah, you're probably correct.
Yeah, probably more accurate. You're right.
Yeah, I think it's
just a thought.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting, and we kind of talked about it last week in terms of like the Tigers' depth. And pitching is a little. The Tigers' pitching depth right now is depleted, but also we don't have a lot of pitching prospects. We've called those guys up. Like those pitching prospects were Mize and Scooble and Manning. Those guys have come up. They're here. Manning's kind of a bust, but like we've got our pitching prospects. Now it's time to get some bats.
We did the same with Bybee and Williams and Allen, so I get it.
Yeah. I'll move on to the Twins, which it's a very interesting snippet he had for the Twins. They were 19th overall, which I thought was a bit low, but then he gives us a backhanded compliment. The Twins have the most lowercase m Midwestern system there is. They have two prospects that will look like they will be superstar in Walker Jenkins and Emmanuel Rodriguez, and a pitcher who might join them in Charlie Soto. They also have a lot of nice prospects behind them, guys who will play in the majors, have value, but probably won't be difference makers. They draft well, they develop well, they don't seem to do anything poorly. They're just kind of in the middle. It's a really nice system. They all say hi to you on the street. I want to be a little bit more excited about it. Thanks,
That's a
Keith.
fun blurb.
Keith Law trying to be funny, man. That's what I'm getting out of this exercise.
I think he was running out of things to say. Is really what happened. Currently, the Twins have 3 top 100 prospects. I'll just talk about them right off the bat. Walker Jenkins, oft injured, but when he's been playing pretty well. He did just come off of the IL. It says that he played for 3 teams in 2025. That's because 2 of those were on a rehab stint. He's just came back in the last 3 weeks, so I'm not taking his 695 OPS as anything to really worry about right now. He's a 60 overall grade. He's just solid all the way around. He has a 60 hit tool, 60 power, 60 arm, 55 field. He's playing in center field right now. Probably going to switch to a corner. He is 6'3" right now. So if all comes apart, he's a first base candidate, left-handed at bat. He got a lot of comps to Josh Hamilton because he's from West Virginia. And if anybody remembers when Josh Hamilton was coming up as a prospect, he was a monster. And then obviously drugs took over for a bit, and then he came back and became an all-star. So Emmanuel Rodriguez, I'm not all that high on, but we'll see. He is overall a 55 graded prospect. His best tool is power, but that's as far as like the 5 classic tools. His best tool is probably his eye. He has always been phenomenal at walking. He has his on base percentage in high A was 492. He's had basically a 400 on base percentage his entire minor league career. We just talked about earlier that the first 2 levels, up until you get to like double A, the pitchers don't know where the ball is going. So was he passive or was he selective? We don't know. When he does hit the ball, it goes a real long ways. What makes him interesting? He is as 3 true outcomes as Adam Dunn. The difference is he can play a decent center field. He has a 55 run grade and he can play it so far. Is he destined to play there? No. He's probably going to slip into a corner, but his floor might be if he can hit, 450 as a slugging percentage and hit 210. He might be a 4th outfielder for a decade, or he could be an all-star. I don't know. He doesn't hit for high average. We'll see. He's kind of overperformed, but I'd love to be wrong. Luke Keeschel, Twins have already seen him this year, and then he broke his forearm. 55 overall graded prospect. Best tool is his hit. Decent, scrappy player. They put first base here only because he was recovering from Tommy John surgery. He will not be playing first base. He's more likely to play center or second than he is to play first long term. It's just he played it because he couldn't throw last year. The Twins knew he needed Tommy John surgery a couple months before, but they apparently couldn't do more damage to it, so they let him play, I believe, until August, which was like the cutoff to where he could still have the surgery and then have a spring training to bounce back from. Came back from that and then broke his forearm. I think he's slated to be back just after the All-Star break, and boy, would he be nice to be in the Twins lineup right now.
I like how you've got 3 guys here. 2 of them have already had a litany of injuries.
Oh, all 3 of them.
Oh, all 3 of them. Okay.
All 3 of them have been on the IL this year. Emmanuel Rodriguez.
Consistent.
What's annoying about Rodriguez is it's like his thumb or like his heel. It's not like major injuries, but it's something where you can't swing a bat and like it takes weeks to recover. But yeah, all of them have had injuries. Shocking for the Twins, I know.
Sorry to keep beating this dead horse, but like, did the Twins scouting department just like, all right, let's look at this players. Oh, he has lots of injuries. He'll be a great fit. Like, what are they doing?
Throw out the medicals. We don't need them.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't trust those dirty doctors. They're probably getting paid. They're probably getting paid.
Dirty doctors. I don't know. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I don't think they do any less or more work for medicals than the average team. Keith Law said that they do everything pretty well. Maybe that includes medical.
Well, they clearly need to upgrade to pretty dang good.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's either incredibly bad luck, but like, boy, do you maybe they've also switched their training staff 3 times in the last like 5 years.
Yeah, I'd hope they switch their training staff.
They ended up actually taking from the Athletics Nick Paparesta is their main trainer right now, who was like, I think however much weight this comes across, he won like best trainer of the year like for a couple of years. So like, does that mean anything? Probably not, but I don't.
It does not.
Yeah.
The next step is to look at who the Twins organization has wronged in the past and see who placed a curse upon the team. Only solution.
They sold their soul for the 91 World Series. And I think since then it's just been crap. It's a good question. I'd love to know the answer. I'll go over these next couple briefly because it really does kind of take a drop off with the Twins. Kalen Culpepper, he will be on the top 100 prospect when they update it. He has been phenomenal. He just got promoted to Double A. He had an 874 OPS, played really good shortstop. was just great in high A. He is a 55. He is a 50 overall prospect. There was some question if he was going to be able to stick it short, but he's been playing it pretty well. It sounds like he has good instincts and he comes in on the ball hard and all those other things they say about prospects that they can't measure it for. But I think when they drafted him as a shortstop, it was assumed he would be a third baseman. But now they're leaving that window open for him to be a major league shortstop. Connor Prelip. This was kind of they're prospects. They're all rolling the dice. When they drafted him in 2022, he entered that draft season as a top 10 overall talent, but he's had so many injuries that he ended up dropping to, I believe, the second round, the 48th overall pick. He has not been healthy since then, except for this year, and he's been really good. Probably a bullpen guy. I think they have been starting him. He's not going to be a starter in the majors. I'd be shocked. He could also be the type that if the Twins do turn this around or really need bullpen help, Connor Prelip is sitting in Double-A, probably about to be promoted here in the next little bit. He has, I don't have the strikeout to walk ratio right now, but he has above a 9 strikeout to right. And then sixth is Marco Raya, who will drop a lot. His ERA in AAA this year is 7.59. He's been inside the farm system since 2020. He was their 4th round pick. He hasn't been that good. It's also been weird for him because he's been a starter, but actually I'll just pull up. He's been a starter, but he has 25 starts in last year. He had under 100 innings in those 25 starts. And he had not a good ERA, but a decent one. They were only going to pitch him 4 innings at a time. And they did it not just last year, they did it the year before. He had 22 starts and 62 innings and 19 starts and 65 innings the year before.
Why are they trying to make him a starter if he's not going past 3 or 4 innings?
I think because they signed him when he was, they drafted him when he was 18, and I think they must have flagged him as an injury risk, and they just were super cautious with him. Because even this year, he has 13 starts and 40 innings. I don't know if this is like...
The bullpen.
I think that's probably where he's going to be, but unless the Twins are going to be the first wave of, how Dan just said it earlier, how every team has their starting pitching, their starting pitchers are going long or going shorter and shorter. The next evolution of pitching then is it's going to be a 4-man rotation, but everyone's going to go 4 or 5 innings and pitch every 4th day instead of 5th day. Maybe they were trying that with him, but he hasn't panned out that well. I'm completely hypothetically. It's very weird how they've been handling him, though.
How old is Raya?
He is 22 in AAA.
He's still fairly young then.
Yeah.
I was AAA, 7 ERA. He was 24.
He
probably
wouldn't
have been the 6th prospect then, though.
He's going to drop. He's pitched 40 innings and he has 26 walks. That's not that's not going to work.
And now we know why he's pitching 4 innings an outing, because if you have that many walks, your pitch count is through the roof.
Yeah. Well, even
I think after year 3 of that, though, they'd go all right, we got to change something here.
Yeah.
Let's throw him out for another 4 innings, see if it works out this time.
He's just a permanent swing man. And that's weird as a prospect that has some upside. I mean, he's graded as a 50 overall prospect, or was. He won't be when they update this. It's weird. I don't know. Oh, finally. Sam, you've been so patient.
Oh, that's fine. And I'll go through these pretty quickly because I think this will be a quick
Okay. I'll go over the Keith Law thing. 22 was in their 6-2. Seems to be a big year for the Royal system. Has a lot of guys who are entering a make or break year, so to speak. It's really never too late, blah, 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 who might be entering their breakout race. Although right now the arrow is pointing down slightly. New scouting director Brian Briggs' first draft was very promising with Jack Caglione, maybe the best power hitting prospect the Royals have had in a very long time. And then he brings up Bobby Hamlin. I don't know who that is.
Long story. I'll tell you later.
Fair enough. They have a lot of arms they'd like to get on guys who haven't put it all together, although last year's second rounder, David Shield, is probably the most high-polished high school arm they've drafted in a decade. I think the arrow is going to swing to point up by this time next year. So, overall, top 100 prospects, Caglione, Mitchell, and then Jensen. Caglione's in the majors. Carter Jensen is about to be, it looks like. He's only 21. That's very promising. And then Blake Mitchell is in rookie ball. He's a couple years away. And here they are. Jack Caglione.
I'll go through these. Jack Caglione. In the majors. We all know about him. Enough said. Blake Mitchell was, I think, the Royals' first round pick in 2023.
Yes.
He was a high school catcher, which is, kind of a little bit of a taboo for a lot of fans. But I think he, so far in rookie ball, has looked pretty good this year. Again, he's only played a handful of games, but again, small sample size, and it's only rookie ball.
Yeah.
So not much to say about that.
55 overall grade prospect, 70 arm, power 60. That's what's probably going to bring him to the majors.
Yeah. Carter Jensen has been a bit of a surprise for the Royals. He was drafted, I believe, in the second or third round a couple years ago, and he is from Kansas City, so obviously has that hometown hero story to him. He's been very good in AAA Omaha. He has had a 756 OPS in 70 games this year. So not bad. He looks pretty promising, and I would imagine that when the end of the year rolls around, he might get a little cup of coffee in the month of September.
Not for nothing. Why aren't they calling him up now? Who's their catcher right now? Fermin? No.
Salvi and Fermin.
I mean, is Fermin doing anything that Carter Jensen can't?
I mean, I don't know. It would be interesting to see. I mean, he's not lighting the world on fire in the minors, but I think he would be someone who they could call up right now if they wanted to. So,
okay.
And then moving on, Blake. I was looking at something else. Ben Kundra. Kadruna.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Kadra. Those are some bad numbers in AA Northwest Arkansas. He's got a 5.53 ERA across 57 innings. So he's not looking too good.
50 overall grade. Only 55 slider, 55 changeup, 50 control. Fine. Decent prospect.
Yeah. Noah Cameron in the major leagues. Enough said. Gavin Cross.
That's very good.
Gavin Cross also. Those are some bad numbers in AA Northwest Arkansas. So he was with the team in spring training this year, and I believe there was some talk of him. Some people wanted him to make the team out of spring training, but it's probably good that he didn't, seeing as how he's slashing 185, 277, and 315 in AA.
Well, he's a 45 overall grade prospect, which is already not. He's already a bench guy.
Mm-hmm. The Royals farm system has been pretty lean for the past decade. So I don't know. I think some of these guys have some promise, but I think that a lot of these guys are kind of far away outside of the two guys who are obviously in the major leagues. Yeah. But also, if two of your top 6 prospects are in the major leagues, it's a little bit,
right.
How many more bullets do you have in the chamber?
Right. So, same question I asked Dan and Lee and didn't ask myself. Who's most likely to be traded?
I would say that I think probably Mitchell would be the most likely to be traded just because it's such a small sample size and he's so far away at this point. Um, I would say, yeah, I'd say Mitchell's probably most likely, and because they also have another catcher in Jensen. So,
Right.
um,
Who's closer?
yeah, who's closer? So,
Okay. Any guess on what they would get back 1-for-1 trade?
I don't think they're going to be buying, but Taylor Ward, they've wanted to get him for a little while now, so who knows? But yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts on the minor league systems?
I wanted to shout out. He just got called up to Double A few weeks ago. Kenny Serwa. He's a right-handed pitcher. He throws a knuckleball, and it's the fastest knuckleball. Yeah, so I wanted to mention him because he's really cool. He throws a really fast, like 80. I'm talking like 86, 88 knuckleball. He's got a few other pitches too, but yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Do you know if is he able to throw them from the same arm slot? Like, is he going to tip?
I don't know how exactly that works. I
Okay.
have to like really dig into
Sorry.
the mechanics of it. No, you're fine. Yeah,
I'm just curious. I've always kind of wondered why nobody's done that before. Somebody who can actually throw hard, actually throw a knuckleball too. But I've always figured it's because the delivery is different. But
You know what's
Yeah,
funny?
I guess we'll find out.
Because the Twins also have, even AAA, Corey Lewis also throws a knuckleball, and he throws it a little bit harder. But I think he throws it in the 70s. But that'll be fun. For a league that doesn't have any knuckleballs, I don't think anyone throws a knuckleball in baseball right now. And now the Tigers and
Not
the Twins
regularly.
have two prospects that might be coming.
Yeah, we signed him. He was in like what's it called? Independent leagues. Yeah, we signed him in like a minor league deal off season because he was in one of those like pitching camps or whatever. Where they go and like show off like 30 pitches and then in front of scouts. Yeah, so he's pretty cool. He's 27. Played in college, played in independent leagues, and it just got called up to Double A after he destroyed Single A. So pretty exciting.
All right. We'll move on to the schedules then, and then we have one series to predict. Even though I have a pretty good idea whoever was going to predict. Because the Tigers play the Twins starting tomorrow. I don't know if I'm ready for this. Then they go to the Nationals and then Cleveland next week. We'll predict that because we're probably going to record before we get to that. The Guardians, St. Louis, and then Chicago. The Twins, Detroit, then Miami. That would be really nice to play Miami. And then versus Tampa, but not in their AAA ballpark. Sam already talked about playing the Dodgers, and then they're going to the Mariners, and then the Diamondbacks the week after that. And then the White Sox are about to play the Giants, the Dodgers, and the Rockies. So a lot of late night games there.
Everyone circle your calendars. July 4th, 5th, and 6th is the weekends you want to watch these games.
How ironic that the day that you expect fireworks, there will be the two worst teams in baseball playing.
What's more American than that? Watching two teams who are going nowhere play a pointless game.
All right.
And they can't be regulated. They can't be relegated to lower leagues. Because that's not how baseball works.
We have one series to predict, and I want everyone to be conscious of my feelings. As the Twins play Detroit in a 3-game series.
Tigers.
Yeah.
You'll get one game. I predict you will win the second game against Mize because you hit him well last time. That is going to be my prediction. Oh, and Sunday game is going to be on national television, so you get to watch your team get struck out by Scooball 11 times.
Oh, can't wait for that. So happy for that. I'm going to assume Oren is saying Detroit. He can always change his mind, but Sam.
Detroit.
Yeah. Dan.
The Minnesota Twins haven't played on Sunday Night Baseball for more than a decade, if I'm not mistaken. They're going to be able to celebrate a victory on Sunday night, but it'll be the only victory of the series, and Detroit wins the series.
I knew I was going to wait. Done that to me too many times for me to put. Oh my god! Now I can't spell Detroit. Oh my goodness. TRO. All right, that South Dakota education system. You know what? Baseball is a funny game. I'm going with the Twins, so screw all of you.
You just want to be contrary.
Well, tell me that the Twins have won 2 in a row now. So
Yeah, they're on a hot streak.
a notable Cleveland scholar once said that if you've won 3 games in a row, that's now a winning streak, and they might have that. And baseball is just a funny game. They've been dog water for the last 2 weeks. Who's to say they don't now just take fire? So there's my small little thimble of hope, or I guess logic behind that. But let's be honest, that's probably going to be a lost point for me.
Yeah, tomorrow we've got TBD versus Gibson Long. So, yeah. And then Ober versus Mize Saturday. Yeah, not versus, but and then Paddock and Skubal on Sunday.
Yeah, we'll enjoy that, Chris Paddock.
That's a heck of a prediction on my part. Chris Paddock's going to beat Eric Skubal. You know what? I'm sticking with it.
That if that isn't coughing baby versus nuclear bomb, I don't know what is.
Well, hey, it might be the Twins' last Sunday night baseball game.
For another decade, yeah. They've been on a cold streak. Actually, it might actually be because ESPN isn't going to broadcast it anymore.
Exactly. This is the last year of Sunday night baseball.
So, this has been a long one. Hopefully, it was good. Guys, have any closing thoughts?
Nope.
I'm going to go back and listen to the first 50 minutes. Other than that, no.
All right. Well, see you guys next week.